Hey guys, Rox here, and today I'm bringing you a more in-depth guide for the Fireball Shatter Sorcerer. No, this will not be dealing Spiritborn damage, but this will likely be one of the highest damage dealing Sorcerer builds this season. Hysteria and I created my Rox Omnium build, which is one of the 3 Sorc builds that could clear Pit 150 last season. Fireball received a buff, where they added burning damage to enhanced Fireball and Vessel of Hatred. This is important because shatter damage in this build is based on how much burn we apply, so every bounce counts. First, I will cover our newer and easier to play variant. To clarify a few things, both of these build variants can clear all T4 content. Is Shatter good for bossing? No. Can it clear it? Yes. Just a little slow in my opinion. If you were to want to farm bosses with this build, you'd likely change your key passive to Enlightenment. Nevertheless, Hordes and Undercity are fine as well. The bosses will just take a little longer than other top Sorc builds. Keep in mind, Shatter has always been primarily used for pushing the highest tier content such as Pit and Avatar of Zir back in Season 2. Personally, I find the Vox version annoying to play due to the nature of the staff mimicking elemental damage from the 2 previous spells you casted. It also feels clunky to play, so we have come up with an alternative, more friendly to play wand variant. I will be covering both of those variants in this video, and each respective planner will be linked below. Last season, the build was far too squishy to be able to comfortably push Pit. With the newly updated Paragon Board, we are able to play this build a bit better due to the amount of damage reduction we get from our Paragon Board nodes now. Unfortunately, the Vox staff still has no max life on it, so it is squishier than this newer variant. Both variants share nearly identical gear with the only major difference in the weapons, so swapping between the 2 variants isn't too hard. With that being said, let's go over our gear. Our helm is the Mythic Heir to Perdition. We are using this helm for its 60% multiplier aspect. Crit Strike is okay for Fireball direct damage, but neither Shatter nor Burning damage can crit. The greater affix on this helm isn't too important like it is for some other builds, so masterwork this one as you see fit. Crit chance GA is still nice, as that is what is likely will be used for other builds. Our chest piece is Raiment. Raiment is important because Shatter has a pretty low AoE radius now, so we want mobs to be stacked pretty tightly for our Shatter booms. Mobs may become unstoppable, so just teleport once they are CCable again to bring them back together. Typically, if there's 1 ranged mob and 2 melee ones, try to stick on the ranged one, as the melee ones will walk over to you. The most important greater affixes on this piece are Glass Cannon and Intelligence, with Glass Cannon being the most important, so try to get a triple masterwork on that passive. We use Gloves of the Illuminator. Fireball is a very mana-hungry spell, so try to go for GA mana when Fireball explodes and GA Fireball attack speed. We are trying to load up as much burn as possible into each Shatter, so stacking attack speed is pretty important. Try to triple Fireball attack speed when masterworking. Use pants with Intelligence, Max Life, Armor, or All Resist on them, and imprint Snow Veiled. These pants were initially used for our Vox variant, hence the Firebolt on them. Snow Veiled pretty much gives us perma unstoppable as long as Ice Armor isn't broken. We have a lot of health in this build, so Ice Armor doesn't get broken nearly as frequently as some of our other squishier builds we have made. For Tempers, we must have Chance to Freeze. This is a must. The build synergy revolves around the damage we pump into frozen enemies. No frozen enemies, Shatter won't work. For the second Temper, we chose Flame Shield duration. Put diamonds into both sockets for all stats to activate bonus yellow nodes on our Paragon Board. For the boots, get a pair with Int, Max Life, and either All Resist or Armor. Imprint Aspect of Concussive Strikes. This is a 25% multiplier on dazed enemies, and enemies can be crowd controlled with multiple types of CCs simultaneously, so this gives us more damage. Because we are using Teleport Enchant, we need the implicit Attacks Reduce Evades cooldown. Try to get a pair with GA Int and masterwork the Int 3 times. Just like the pants, we must temper Lucky Hit Chance to Freeze. For the second temper, get Evade cooldown reduction. Use a wand with Intelligence, Max Life, and vulnerable affixes and imprint Storm Swell. Temper Pyromancy attack speed and chance for Fireball to cast twice. Try to get greater Int and triple masterwork chance for Fireball to cast twice. Socket a Sapphire for added vuln damage in the wand. For our offhand, get one with Int, Max Life, and Cooldown. Same tempers as the wand, so Pyro attack speed and chance for Fireball to cast twice. Try to get GA Int and Masterwork chance for Fireball to cast twice all 3 times. Put a Sapphire in the socket and imprint Conceited on the focus. For the amulet, imprint Aspect of Shredding Blades. We are spec'd into a lot of vulnerable damage, so this aspect being on the amulet is very important. Affixes we want are Intelligence, Ranks to Glass Cannon, and Lucky Hit to make enemies vulnerable. Because fire spells do not have a reliable way to vuln, we use this affix to vuln everything. Try to get a greater affix, Intelligence Ammi, and triple Masterwork Glass Cannon 3 times. For the tempers, get vulnerable damage first, and the second temper is kind of a flex one here. You can do Flame Shield duration, armor or max life, or Lucky Hit to restore mana if needed. Put either a Skull Gem or Diamond in for armor or all resist. Ring number 1, Talrash's. This ring is used in many Sorc builds due to it being one of the few rings with cooldown reduction on it. It also has a 75% damage multiplier if it's a max roll. Non-physical and cooldown are the 2 stats to target for greater affixes. Potent Warding is also very nice because it gives more all resist while in combat. Try to masterwork any combination of non-physical damage and cooldown reduction. Socket a skull or diamond as needed. For our second ring, we use the Mythic Ring of Starless Skies. This ring is very nice as it helps with mana management as it reduces resource cost. This ring is also a 50% damage multiplier. Focus on getting a GA attack speed Starless, triple masterwork the attack speed, and socket a skull or a diamond. For our first rune combo, we use Tam and Ohm. This will trigger the Warcry rune when we cast Fireball over and over. Warcry increases our damage dealt along with move speed. Our second rune set combo is Lith and Zal. Since we primarily are traversing the game via teleport enchant, it counts as us standing still. This is what triggers the Lith rune. Pair it with Zal to give us 20% more max life for 4 seconds. This will help with tankiness and survivability. Alright, let's cover our skill tree now. Take 2 points in Firebolt in the basic skill area. In the core section, put 1 point in Fireball, our main spender. Go up the tree to Enhanced Fireball, which now applies Burn. Greater Fireball deals 10% of the burn damage we deal as direct damage. So 10% of the damage we deal is what is being funneled into Shatter by means of direct damage, with all the multipliers added of course. The difference between direct damage and burning is that burning is a dot, or damage over time. Damage over time is not direct damage, and it also cannot crit. So for example, the initial hit of Fireball is direct damage, but the burn it applies is a dot. The initial hit of Fireball can crit, the burn cannot. This is why crit is not important for burning builds. Take 3 points in Potent Warding for added survivability. Our 3 defensive spells are Flame Shield, Ice Armor, and Teleport. Teleport and Flame Shield provide us with Unstoppable, which can get us out of sticky situations. Put 5 points in Flame Shield for added burn and longer duration. Teleport also gives us 30% damage reduction each time we use it. This also includes each time you teleport via Teleport enchant. Ice Armor provides us with a nice barrier, so put 5 points in that. Go down the tree to Shimmering Ice Armor to help ensure Ice Armor comes off cooldown quickly. Take 3 points in Glass Cannon for added damage. Next, we take Summoned Hydra. Hydra here is mainly used for the 3% we get from elemental synergies. That's later on down in the skill tree. You don't really need to cast this throughout the dungeon trash clear. It's mostly used while waiting for the boss to spawn adds. Take 3 points in the following passives: Protection and Mana Shield for survivability, and of course Conjuration Mastery for mana regen and damage when you do use Hydra. Next, we're going to take 3 points in Icy Veil. This will make our barrier last longer, and 3 points in Inner Flames. This causes our pyro skills to deal increased damage. Like Hydra, Firewall is used for some extra burn while waiting for the boss to spawn adds. Enemies take an increased 25% burning when they're standing in Firewall, and Mage's Firewall causes them to continue to burn for an extra 3 seconds. Both Hydra and Firewall are mainly taken because of elemental synergies. This gives 3% more damage for each skill you have equipped of that type of element, so we just kind of toss them on the bar for the time being. We take 3 points each in Hoarfrost and Icy Touch. This will buff Shatter. 1 point in Frigid Breeze. This will help with mana. Let's go down to this Fire Branch here. And we're going to take 3 points in all of these, so Endless Fire, Soul Fire, and Warmth. Elemental synergies here, as I said, will give increased damage, and Evocation provides us with more cooldown. And finally, Shatter, the key passive that makes this build able to push high tier content. Shatter takes 45% of the damage you deal to frozen enemies and causes an AoE explosion after the freeze expires. So we load up burning damage into frozen enemies. That gets converted to direct damage via Greater Fireball, and then it explodes for AoE damage. This is why it is necessary to have adds on pit bosses, as we are dealing damage to them via their adds getting shattered. For enchantments, we use Teleport Enchant. This helps us move around the dungeon quickly. It provides us with damage reduction via Shimmering Teleport, and it also helps us to group mobs together with Raiment. Make sure you're using attacks reduce evades cooldown implicit on the boots, otherwise this isn't going to work very well. Our second enchant is Firebolt. It causes all of our direct damage spells to now apply burning. I'll quickly go over the Paragon Board. Many Sorc boards are pretty cookie cutter, and it's kind of the same with the glyphs. Our starting board in the Paragon, let's socket Elementalist. This will buff Int and non-physical in the damage to elites via the yellow nodes. For the second board, we're going to attach Frigid Fate and socket Unleash. Unleash gives damage, mana regen, and buffs all blue magic nodes in its range. Taking the Dex here and the Willpower will actually help us meet the requirements for yellow nodes on the later boards, as Unleash is buffing those values. Non-physical and vulnerable damage on this board are also getting buffed within the glyph's range. For the third board, we're going to use Fundamental Release with Tactician. Tactician also grants bonus to yellow nodes in the range. Here it buffs non-physical, vuln, and int. Board number 4, we're going to use Burning Instinct. When we take the legendary node and we're going to socket Exploit into the glyph space. Make sure to take all the dex nodes within the glyph's range. And our final board here is Enchantment Master. There's a lot of non-physical damage on here, and taking this legendary will also help with the teleport enchant, so moving around the dungeon quicker. And finally, we're going to socket Control into this glyph spot. This variant is significantly easier to play than Vox. You don't have to worry about what you casted last, like with the Vox variant. So just non-stop spam Fireball and wait for the Shatter Boom. It's also tankier since we have max life on both the weapon and the focus. However, the shatter numbers won't be as high as the Vox variant. As far as we can tell right now, there might only be a couple pit tiers different. We're still trying to min-max the build, but so far both have cleared pit 105. Basically, the way to play this is you're going to teleport in, you're going to group the enemies via Raiment, activate Ice Armor, hold and spam Fireball. Watch the enemies freeze and explode as the freeze expires. For bosses, we need a boss with adds. Yes, unfortunately, this turns into a fishing build in higher tiers. These bosses include Scourge, Spirit Caller, Sea Hag, Slither, and Malice. Pull the adds into the range of the boss with Raiment and Teleport, and spam Fireball until the adds explode, rinse, and repeat. I'm going to let the remainder of this pit run play out before heading into the section about Vox. Feel free to watch the boss kill or skip ahead to the next segment. Now that we've covered the wand variant, let's focus on Vox next. Vox aspect reads, casting a core skill additionally fires 2 instances of Frost, Fire, and Spark, matching the elements of your last 2 non-core skill casts. These projectiles deal X amount increased damage. To put it more simply, if you cast any non-core spell, Vox will cast a basic spell matching that non-core spell's element. For example, if you cast Ice Armor, Vox will cast 1 Frostbolt with your core spell. If you cast Flame Shield next, Vox will now cast 1 Frostbolt and 1 Firebolt with your core spell. This is important to understand because specifically for this build, we want Vox to be casting as many Firebolts to apply as much burn as possible to load up into our greater Fireball Shatter. This is where the tediousness of this build comes into play. Each time you cast Ice Armor, Teleport, and Evade Teleport, Vox will be casting Frostbolts and Sparks. Yes, Evade Teleport counts as a spark for Vox, so this means you will need to cast a non-core fire spell each time you use one of these non-fire spells. The 2 non-core spells we will be using are Hydra and Flame Shield. You can cast either 2 Hydras or 1 Hydra and 1 Flame Shield to begin casting Firebolts again. Firewall is a mastery skill, but mastery skills also count as core skills, so you cannot substitute Hydra or Flame Shield with a Firewall. So why play Vox over the easier wand variant? While this variant of Fireball Shatter is more annoying to play, you will see larger shatter numbers as this one is applying more burn, and more burn equals bigger shatter booms. We are still actively testing both, but we believe this variant can push higher than the wand version. It's personal preference on playstyle. The gear is nearly identical, the main difference is the weapons and the pants. For the pants, since we are constantly casting Hydras, we imprint the aspect of concentration. This gives us damage reduction each time a conjuration is cast for 5 seconds. We want intelligence, max life, and ranks to Firebolt. GA Firebolt if you can, and triple Masterwork it. For tempers, once again, we must have chance to freeze. Yes, this is a must. Second temper can be max life or armor as needed. Our weapon for this variant is Vox Omnium. The aspect number is the most important here, so get one as close to 90% as possible. Any greater affix on this staff is good, particularly core attack speed. For masterworking, try to triple non-physical damage, and socket 2 sapphires for added vulnerable damage. Our gameplay loop for Vox consists of teleporting into group enemies via Raiment and activate Ice Armor. Because our first 2 non-core spells are a Shock and an Ice spell, this will cause Vox to cast Frostbolt and Spark. We always want Firebolts to be cast to apply burning, so we immediately cast either 2 Hydras or 1 Flame Shield and 1 Hydra. Now we have 2 Firebolts being cast by the Vox. You can put down a Firewall to apply extra burning damage. You just need to make sure you always have at the very least 1 Firebolt being cast. A good rule of thumb is to summon a Hydra each time you teleport or evade teleport. The Vox skill tree is relatively similar to our wand variant. For Vox, we're going to max out Firebolt, putting 5 points into it, taking Enhanced Firebolt, and Glinting Firebolt to apply 25% burning multiplier. 1 point in each area of the Fireball branch, and 3 points in Potent Warding. We're going to be using the same defensive and conjuration trees as the wand variant. Conjuration mastery is a little bit more important here since we are constantly casting Hydras. Same mastery tree, same ultimate area tree, and finally, the same key passive Shatter. We will be using the same Paragon board for both variants as well, so no need to go over that again. Overall, I think this new variant is much more enjoyable to play, and it helps break Sorcerer into Pit 100 and higher this season. Sadly, the state of the classes aside from Spiritborn is pretty grim. I have leveled both Sorc and Spiritborn this season, so I will be alternating between the 2 on stream. I'm not sure I will have published any Spiritborn guides as I'm not well versed on the class just yet. My primary focus has been Sorc with a side of Spiritborn's power for farming. Personally, I'm hoping Spiritborn doesn't suffer any major nerfs like some of the other classes have over the past year. I think the other classes need to be brought up quite a bit in terms of damage and quality of life. I enjoy both classes and the variety of specs they have to offer, but I'm crossing my fingers for some major buffs headed our way. I will be releasing my Chain Lightning video over the next few days, though I may wait until Azure Wrath and Frostburn have made their return to see where their affix numbers lie. I hope you enjoyed this guide on my Shatter Fireball build variants. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment below or stop by my Twitch stream. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.